Kim, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at naway pagpalain tayo ng Panginoon. Dahil tayo ay magkakaroon ng ating taunan na pagpupulong, our annual meeting on January 31, at kung saan tatalakayin din ang budget ng church, I suppose. It was the practice of our church, I should say my former church. It was the practice namin noon na before we do that, we focus our attention on what the Bible teaches concerning the grace of stewardship, concerning financial stewardship. At ito'y iminungkahi ko sa aking mga bagong pastor at sila naman ay pumayag. Hindi ko lang inasahan na sa akin nila ipapasa yung pagtuturo. Ngayon man ay tinatanggap ko ang hamon na ito at tatalakayin natin ito sa isang diwa na gusto kong idiin na dapat itong ituro sapagkat ito itinuturo ng salita ng Diyos, pero hindi ito dapat ipagpukpukan na maya't maya na lamang ay naririnig. Naging nakadala ako sa maraming iglesia kung saan ka mang magsimulang teksto, ang application palagi ay giving. Hindi dapat ginagawa yon sapagkat ito ay hindi ganun na pervasive presence in the scriptures. However, it is there. The subject of giving is there, and there is no more appropriate time for us to address this subject than when the church is about to discuss matters of budget and finances. So ito po ang ating gagawin sa 2 linggo. This morning, we will look at a subject that perhaps is the most asked by many concerning giving, and that is about tithing. And I want to address the subject of duty giving. And then next week, we will consider that giving, as a matter of fact, is beyond tithing. Kung nakatutok lang tayo sa tithing, hindi tayo nakakaroon ng biblical thinking about giving. So for today, this morning, we will address duty giving, and next week, God willing, we will address cheerful giving. So tingnan natin, ang umpisang text na gagamitin natin ay ang mga salita ng Panginoon sa Panginoong Jesus sa Matthew 23:23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. This you ought to have done without neglecting the others. Kung papansin ninyo yung underscored or bold letters, ay may weightier matters of the law. That means there are less weighty matters of the law, but Jesus says you do not neglect them. So both sides, the weighty matters and the less weighty matters, have their place para sa pagsunod sa kalooban ng Panginoon. Pero meron tayong mas matimbang na mga bagay, pero hindi ibig sabihin na paiiwanan natin ang hindi ganun katimbang na mga bagay. But we'll come back to this text in a while. Puntahan muna natin ang usapin tungkol sa tithing. Ano ba yung konsepto na ito? Ito'y galing sa Hebrew word na maaser, at ang Griego naman ay dekatoo, at makikita natin parehong ang ibig sabihin niya ay the 10th part. Especially yung dekatoo, di ba, nakikita nyo yan sa salitang dekada, 10 taon, or decalogue, meaning 10 utos. So it refers to the 10th part of anything. So ang nagiging tanong ng marami ay, are we still bound as a Christian duty to tithe? Ayan ang magiging umpisa natin, at I'm not saying na my title on my slide. Anyway, beliefs and attitudes to tithing ay tingnan natin. So una, yung mga maling pananaw, erroneous views. And the first is the popular view. The popular view is that tithing has been abrogated in the New Testament. Yung pagbibigay ng ikapu ay tinanggal na raw sa Bagong Tipan. That's the popular view, and I say it is popular because that is the view espoused by many professing Christians today, whether evangelical or non-evangelical. Sa kanilang paniniwala, ang tithing ay Old Testament at sa New Testament ay wala na. So the New Testament is understood as liberating from the obligation of the tithe. Ang nasa Bagong Tipan na raw ay completely free giving. Kung anong gusto mong ibigay, ang naayon sa iyong puso, yun na lamang ang hinihingi ng Diyos. Hindi na yung tungkulin o obligasyon na magbigay ng ikapu. Pero ang ganyang pag-iisip, gusto ko lang sabihin, without arguing theologically at this point, rejection of tithing often breeds miserly giving. Pag iniwan mo yan sa isang tao, lalo't alam natin na nasa atin pa rin ang kasalanan, malimit ay lulukubin ng kasalanan ng ating diwa ukol sa pagbibigay at mauwi ito sa maramot na pagbibigay. And that is the effect, the character effect of rejecting tithing as a duty. So parang napakahigpit ng hawak niya sa kanyang kaperahan. Then, another view, which I call the materialistic view, or another way of putting it is the commercial view, is the belief that tithing is some kind of formula for financial blessing. So ito yung mga taong kanilang ididiin na talagang dapat magbigay ng ikapu, at pag tayo nagbigay ng ikapu, tayo ay payayamanin ng Panginoon. May ganyang pananaw. Tithing is observed as the way to prosperity. Meron pa ngang nagsulat ng book, si L.E. Mayer, na ang title ng book niya ay As You Tithe, So You Prosper. So you can see the attitude here. It sinfully combines a duty of faith with a commercial motive. And you cannot combine the two. Kapag ginawa mo ng ayon sa pananampalataya, ito ay dahil sa iyong debosyon sa Panginoon, ito ay dahil sa gusto mong sumunod sa kanyang kautusan, regardless of incentives and consequences. Pero itong ganitong diwa ay nagsasabi na kapag nagbigay ka ng ikapu, huwag kang mag-alala, payayamanin ka ng Panginoon. Kaya para siyang nagbibilang ng investment, merong cost. Ang cost mo ay ang tithes, pero may profit ka dahil makikinabang ka sa pagpapala ng Panginoon. And as much as miserliness is a wrong attitude, so is a commercial motive. Yung para kang nakikipagkalakalan sa Diyos na kapag nagbigay ka this much, ay babalikan ka ng a lot more. And that is another wrong view. Then a third wrong view is the legalistic view that tithing is the only duty of giving. And this is the attitude that thinks of giving as pertaining only to the tithe. Tithing is deemed as complete giving. Kapag naibigay mo ng iyong ikapu, ay nakapagbigay ka na. Wala nang kailangang humigit pa doon sa tithing. And so this is the legalistic view, and the result of that in many churches and cults especially, they monitor tithing very tightly. Kaya nakarecord lahat yan, mga nagtatithe na miyembro, at sinusuri yan ng kanilang mga pamunuan, at kapag hindi ka na nakakaabot sa dapat na tithing mo, kalkulado nila, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng dalaw sa iyong bahay mula sa kanilang ministro, at tatanungin ka ngayon, susuriin ka, and I believe that to be wrong. In fact, I believe that monitoring the giving of individuals, whether members or non-members, monitoring by the church is wrong. I believe that giving should be between the giver and his God. Eh baka may magsasabi, pag hindi natin na-monitor, baka hindi na nagbibigay yan. Well, that is his obligation to God. That is his accountability to God. But you do not go between God and the giver and make yourself na parang ikaw ang nag-i-impose ng dapat niyang ibigay at magkano na ang kanyang dapat ibigay. From the start, our church, my former church, sorry, in denial pa ako. My former church never had any monitoring system of knowing what the people are giving concerning tithes and offering, but we never had a problem every year sa issue ng giving ng mga tao. When you stress, and I will stress this more next week, but when you stress that giving is an act of worship, it is your response to God, gaya ng inawit natin. All good things, all good gifts are from heaven above, then thank the Lord. And the way you thank the Lord, one way to express it is by way of generous giving. So you do not need to monitor just as much that you do not need to monitor kung siya ba'y nananalangin talaga kapag mayroong public praying o siya ba talaga ay nakikinig ng maayos sa salita ng Diyos. Responsibilidad niya yun sa Diyos, gayon din ang giving. You do not need to monitor and leave it between the giver and his God. So, sa halip na yung mga maling pananaw na yan, ang tingnan natin ay ang sinasabi ng Biblia. Of course, most obviously, we find tithing clearly mandated in the Old Testament. Pagdating sa Lumang Tipan, we go back to the first account of tithing, the first time na makikita natin ang pagbibigay ng ikapwo ay ng si Abraham after his victory over the people who abducted his nephew Lot and family, ay nakatagpo niya ang isang figure who was a mysterious figure until explained in the New Testament in the book of Hebrews, si Melchizedek, na isa raw priest and also a king. And Abraham gave to him the tithes. So Genesis 14, 19 and 20, the first time tithe is mentioned in the scriptures. Blessed be Abraham of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand, and He gave him a tithe of all. So ito si Melchizedek ang nagsasabi na blessed be the Most High. At very significant ang pagka-describe niya of God is possessor of all things, of heaven and earth. Siyang may-ari ng lahat ng mga bagay na yan. And now, as response, Abraham gave Melchizedek the tithe, and the first time na ito ginamit. So one thing that we learn from this account is that tithing is not just a Mosaic law that was abrogated. So this answers those who say that tithing is only found in the law of Moses, na siyempre nagsimula sa Exodus, pero ito ay Genesis, bago pa, maraming taon pa bago dumating si Moses at naibigay ang Mosaic law, where you have indeed some very strict regulation about tithing, but before that happened, there is this account of tithing. So, ang masasabi natin, anong nagbunsod kay Abraham na magbigay ng tithe na wala namang law, wala namang Mosaic law? And so, we are refuting the point of many that the tithe is Mosaic law. And the thing that we can say is, again, it is connected to the person of Melchizedek. Melchizedek was a priestly type of Christ, and this would later on be expounded sa Hebrews 7:15 and following, or 25 and following. Makikita natin sa makatuwid, itong si Melchizedek ay parang anino ng darating na Mesiyas sa katauhan ng Panginoong Jesucristo. Ang ginawa ni Abraham sa makatuwid ay parang tumutugon siya sa kanyang kinikilala na sugo ng Diyos. And here we find something of an important lesson. One is that Abraham's giving was prompted by creational principle. Ibig sabihin, hindi Mosaic law. Saan niya kinuha ito? Kinuha niya ito kung paano nilikha ng Diyos ang tao na kung siya'y mapagpasalamat ay magiging voluntaryo sa kanya ang pagkakaloob ng ikapu. Diyan yan galing kay Abraham, hindi yan dahil sa batas na ibinigay sa kanya. And one other thing that we learn from this is that the first tithing established a pattern for giving as worship. Ito ay response kay Melchizedek na ginamit ng author of Hebrews na sinabing ito ay nagtuturo sa Panginoong Jesucristo. Therefore, like Abraham responding to Melchizedek, we are responding to the goodness of God in giving us Christ. And in giving us Christ, the writer of Hebrews says that in the same correspondence of Abraham giving tithe to Melchizedek as an expression of gratitude and in exercise of his creational mandate, tayo rin we are responding to the goodness of God in giving us Christ, who is the greatest gift that God has given. And the way we do it is by expressing our thanks through tithing, as Abraham did. Kaya yan ang unang account ng tithing. Then, in the Mosaic law, it becomes very much regulated. Israel was under obligation to pay tithes. Sa Tagalog, Levitico 27:30, lahat ng ikasampung bahagi ng lupain, maging sa binhi ng lupain o sa bunga ng punong kahoy, ay sa Panginoon. Take note, ito ay banal sa Panginoon. So yung ikasampung bahagi is sanctified. Now, the word sanctified in this sense means separate. Bukod na, ibinukod na. Hindi na sa iyo yan. Nakabukod na yan para sa Panginoon. And that was how the tithe was treated in the Mosaic law, that of all your wealth, which of many times would be in terms of real property like land or agriculture, itong ikasampung bahagi niya ay binukod na para sa Panginoon. That is why in the Old Testament, you will find that the word or verb used for tithing is not giving the tithe. It's paying the tithe. Pag paying, ibig sabihin ay hindi na sa iyo yan. Kung may binili ka, napunta sa iyo yung iyong binili, pero yung katumbas na halaga noon, hindi na sa iyo. Ibabayad mo na yan. Kung hindi mo ibayad, may krimen ka. Ganito ngayon ang sinasabi ng batas ni Moises. When it comes to the tithe, it's already sanctified, consecrated, binukod na, at dapat ibayad sa mga gawain ng Panginoon. But at the same time, the tithe may be given by its money equivalent. And this is a provision given in Deuteronomy 14:22 and following, dahil hindi mo naman pwede talagang hatiin yung lupa at ibigay doon sa mga Levites. So sa mga ganung pagkakataon, the money equivalent is accepted as your tithe. And that, of course, is the main thing that we do it today is through money equivalent of our income. Then tithes, the major source, the tithes were the source of sustenance of the Levites. So saan ginagamit yung tithes? Tandaan nyo, ang Levites, hindi sila binigyan ng lupain. Yung 12 tribes, yung para kay Joseph, hinati sa dalawa niyang anak, na si Ephraim at Manasseh, kaya para kay Levi, wala siyang lupain. Binigyan siya ng Levitical cities in certain places, pero yung talagang territory na pang Levites, wala. Why? Because they were separated for tabernacle work and later on temple work. So where will they get their sustenance? Wala silang agriculture, and they will get their sustenance through the tithing of the people. Now that is a very important observation because that shows the obligation of tithe will perpetuate because we still have the principle of worship. We still have the principle of workers for the things of God who give themselves full time like the Levites and disentangling themselves from anything of secular income. Dahil doon, nagpapatuloy yung concern bakit nagtatize ang Israelites is because of maintaining the worship concerns and the people who have given themselves totally to the work of worship matters in the people of God. So, yan ang masasabi natin na kung ito ay isipin natin, nandyan pa rin ang worship, nandyan pa rin ang mga workers ng para sa worship. So, paano mo sasabihin na wala na yung prinsipyo na tustusan ng pananalapi ng mga tao ng Diyos ang patungkol sa kanyang gawain at patungkol sa mga manggagawa ng Diyos. So what we can say here is that when we come to the New Testament, what we see is the text we began with, yung sinimulan nating teksto sa Matthew 23:23, Jesus made it an imperative. Yes, it is less weighty than faith, mercy, and justice, but what Jesus said, this you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. So there remains an imperative. So by the time of Jesus, tithing was made legalistic by Jewish traditions. Nalala niyo yung Pharisees sa parable ni Jesus in Luke 18, kung paano siya nagmamalaki, twice a week I pay my tithes. Ginawa na nilang burden, ginawa na nilang legalistic. And what happened was, Jewish traditions used tithes as substitute for the weightier matters of the law. Yan ang sinasaway ng Panginoon sa Matthew 23:23, na para bang dahil nakapag-tithe sila, ay exempted na sila doon sa mas matitimbang na mga panukala ng kautusan. At yan ang sinasabi ni Jesus na hindi. Hindi niya sinabing ihinto niyo yung tithe at gawin niyo yung mas matimbang na bahagi. Ang sabi niya ay huwag niyong kalimutan ng mas matimbang na bagamat huwag niyong iwanang gawin ang mga less weighty. So what it shows is that when it comes to duties, there are degrees of gravity. Katumbas rin yan sa sins. Ang mga kasalanan, meron ding degrees of gravity. Hindi lahat ng kasalanan magkakapareho ang bigat. Ganon din sa mga tungkulin. Hindi pagkakapareho ang timbang ng mga tungkulin. At pagdating sa graces like justice, mercy, and faith, they are more weighty than the external obligation of tithing. But let's make it clear, it is making a comparison without dismissing one side. It is emphasizing one side, that of graces, pero hindi isinasantabi yung kabilang panig na tithing. So, where spiritual graces are priority, in fact, tithing is the easier duty. Yan ang point yan. Pero, obserbahan mo maraming Kristiyano, mas nabibigatan sila sa mag-tithe kaysa doon sa mga ibang bagay na dapat yun ang mas matimbang. Yan nga ang mas magaang. Ang mas magaang na tungkulin ay ang magbigay tayo ng ating ikapu. Ngayon, tingnan natin ito in terms of parallels. Una, ay may parallel sa Sabbath and tithe because both pertain to proportion. Pwede mong sabihin, ang lahat ng araw ko ay para sa Panginoon. Good. And that is true. Pero kung hindi ka magbukod ng isang araw na itinakda ng Diyos na pag-alala ng kanyang paglikha in the Old Testament, and then pag-alala ng pagkabuhay na muli ni Jesus sa Bagong Tipan, ang sasabihin mo lang, ang araw-araw ko ay para sa Panginoon. Pagdating ng linggo, wala ka sa iglesia, ay hindi totoo na ibinibigay mo ang buong araw mo sa Panginoon. So when it comes to the comparison, ganun din ang tithing. Pwede mong sabihin, bawat piso ng aking kaperahan ay sa Panginoon. Pero hindi ka magbibigay ng proportion, that's not the way it happens in the things of God. All your days belong to God, of course, but He has consecrated one day. And we believe in the New Testament that to be the Lord's Day, the day on which Jesus rose from the dead, the first day of the week. So, ibubukod mo yun, bagamat lahat ng mga araw mo sa Panginoon, ganun din sa ating pananalapi. Lahat ay sa Panginoon. All good gifts are sent from heaven above. But, to show that, you apportion an amount that reflects the way God has gifted you with His generosity. Ang natanggal ay yung mga legal and ceremonial. So wala nang mga sabbatical year, wala na yung mga iba't ibang legal accretions to the Sabbath in the Old Testament. We just observe the Lord's Day. Pero it's the same Sabbath principle. Ganun din sa tithing, wala na yung mga legal and ceremonial aspects, but the creational and the moral perpetuates in the present period. So that's one way to see the parallel. And then there's another parallel that we can use. It's the temple Levites and the church preachers or church workers. Natandaan natin sa Lumang Tipan, sa Mosaic Law, the main use of the tithes was to sustain the Levites in their work because they have no agricultural land. Ito ang magtutusto sa kanila. Well, ganun ang ginamit ni Apostol Pablo patungkol sa pagtutustos ng mga nangangaral ng Ebanghelyo. Maliwanag ito sa 1 Corinthians 9. Do you not know that those who are employed in the temple service, so those are the Levites, get their food from the temple, and those who serve at the altar share in the sacrificial offerings? So he's referring here to the principle of tithes. Now take note, Paul draws this conclusion in the same way. Sa gayon ding paraan, iniutos ng Panginoon na ang sinumang nangangaral ng Ebanghelyo ay dapat tustusan ang kanilang kabuhayan sa pamamagitan ng Ebanghelyo. Simply put, Paul is making a correspondence of the way Levites were supported because they have to let go of their agricultural land. Ganun na rin sa mga mangangarang na yon. In the Levitical ministry, they had no land, they had to be supported by tithes. Now, in the gospel ministry, a gospel minister ideally should have no secular work. Of course, sinabi ko ideally, sa mga iglesyang hindi pa kayang magtustos ng full-time ministry, that should be considered only a temporary provisional arrangement. The ideal is that a man who gives himself in labor for the Word of God must live through the finances that the people of God are giving. So yan ang ibig sabihin ng in the same way. Caring for gospel ministry, therefore, is one challenge to faithful giving. Talaga bang nagmamalasakit tayo na ang Ebanghelyo ay may pangaral sa mga ministeryo natin? May pangaral ng mangangaral na talagang nakapaghanda siya ng lubos sapagkat hindi siya na hindi niya inaatupag ang mga bagay na alalahanin ng kanyang income from secular work, kaya mas natututukan niya ang paghahanda. And so preachers should be a display of the product of the people's giving. Kung masyado siyang occupied sa mga bagay na labas ng ministeryo, hindi siya makapaghanda. It may be that something is wrong with the people who are not supporting him sufficiently. Ganun din naman, may kasalanan ng preacher na merong support sufficiently tapos hindi naghahanda. Kaya nga siya sinusupport sufficiently ay para handang-handa siya sa mga gawain ng pagtuturo at pangangaral ng salita ng Diyos. So it goes both ways, both for the givers and the beneficiaries of giving. Then, let us consider one comment by a Reformed preacher or Reformed writer na I'm sure you are familiar with, Arthur W. Pink. Ito'y mahalagang tao sa akin. Ako'y naligtas sa pamamagitan ng kanyang isinulat na book on repentance. Well, one book or booklet that he wrote is on tithing. And he said this, "In the matter of tithing, be just as strict and careful and systematic as you are in business matters. In fact, even more so, for it is not the world's money and it is not your own, but it is the Lord's money which is involved." Ang sinasabi niya, kung maingat ka sa iyong mga pangangalakal, sa iyong business, tama lang na maging maingat ka, pero mas lalo kang maging maingat sa usapin ng tithing because what is involved is the Lord's money. Remember, it's already sanctified. It's no longer yours. It is the Lord's. And therefore, I hope I have established that tithing remains a principle that perpetuates, nagpapatuloy sa ating panahon. Now, let me just make some reflection as we draw to our conclusion. First, it challenges church prioritization. Ano yung inuuna dapat ng iglesia sa kanyang kaperahan? Tithing reminds the church of priority in its finances. The priority of church finances should be mandates of the Word. So, hindi ito tungkol sa luxury ng iglesia o luxury ng mga nasa ministeryo. Hindi ito para lagi tayong may pera sa ating mga meal fellowship. And I'm not against meal fellowship. Kakain ako mamaya. So, I'm not against that. Pero, pagdating sa budgeting, na ipapakita dapat na ang pangunahin para sa iglesia at para sa pamunuan ng iglesia ay paano gagamitin ang kaperahan natin para sa mandato ng salita ng Diyos. Preaching, teaching, evangelism, mission, and such other ministries that will sustain the circulation of the Word of God. And this is where many churches are going wrong. They are wealthy, and yet their wealth is spent more on luxury, on the wealth of their leaders, and on other matters that have little to do or nothing to do with the Word of God. That should be one challenge. Pangalawa is Christian recognition. Tithing is a test of our recognition of God's rightful ownership of our sustenance. Madaling awitin yung inawit natin kanina, na all good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. Pagkatapos pagdating sa giving at timbangin ang iyong giving, ay the fact that I said it should not be monitored, so it's between you and God. Sa konsensya mo ito sasagutin. Talaga bang kinikilala mo itong bawat tanggapin ko sa Panginoon ay kanyang kaloob? Dapat kong ipakita sa maluwag na puso ng pagkakaloob at ang unang hamon niyan ay ibukod mo ang ikapo. Now, next week I will argue, you only start giving after the tithe. Because the tithe is paid. But it is not to be monitored. Ito ay nasa puso mo. At panghuli, Christian mortification o yung pagdaig natin sa ating kasalanan. Tithing is an effective mortifying means of wrong attitudes to money. Kung ginagawa mo as a regular practice na mag-tithe, isang bagay ito na dadaig, magiging kasangkapan para daigin ang marami nating kasalanan patungkol sa kaperahan. And I'll just mention two. Of course, I can mention covetousness, and that is basic in the matter of dealing with sin. But covetousness often displays itself first ay luxury. Kung masyado tayong marangya sa ating mga pamumuhay na wala nang natitira dahil ginamit mo na sa lahat ng karangyaan, luxury, ang dapat, ang sabi ni C.S. Lewis, something is wrong with a Christian who is able to maximize his finances for himself, because that means he gives little, if anything, to the Lord. So, maring kailangan mong bawasan ng ilang karangyaan. Kung marami kang subscription ng Netflix at iba pang mga hindi mo naman lubos na kailangan, at dahil doon na hindi mo maabot yung dapat na tithe, then magbawas ka. That's luxury. And the other is, of course, miserliness. Yung pagkamaramot. Ihambing mo ito sa where are you ready to spend generously? Kung minsan, pag championship sa PBA, lalo't may Hinebra, ay willing akong magbayad ng ticket para sa sa anak ko at ako ang nanonood. Medyo may kamahalan, pero willing ako. Pero hindi naman nasa-sacrifice yung tithing. Pero ang point ay, ihambing mo where you are generous with your money. Maybe it's another kind of hobby. And yet, you're not giving your tithe. So, tithing mortifies miserliness. So, let me close with this challenge from Malachi 3 verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet you are robbing me. But you say, how have we robbed you? In your tithes and offerings. Kapag may robbery, siguro ipapablatter natin agad sa barangay, sa kapulisan. Walang ganyang blatter pagdating sa robbery of what belongs to God. It is instead blattered on your conscience. Initially, it may alarm you. But soon when it happens regularly that you withhold your tithe, it hardens you. Wala ka nang pakialam na hindi mo na pala na ibubukod yung dapat ay duty mo na ibigay sa Panginoon. So from our earning, my challenge is agad-agaran, readily apportion the tithes to be sanctified in worship to the Lord. So I stress the word worship. Sumasamba ka. It is nung si Pablo ay nakatanggap ng gift ng mga Philippians, nung sinabi niya sa Philippians 4:10, it is a sweet-smelling aroma to God. Yung kanilang ibinigay para sa gawain ay mabangong samyo sa Panginoon. Yan ay salitang pagsamba. Sumasamba ka sa paraan ng iyong maluwag na pagbibigay. So I'm ready for easy questions. O kung masyado kang na-convict agad ay pwedeng magbigay ka na doon sa ating offering box. Deacon Joel.
Hindi na po ako deacon.
Aileen.
Okay. So yung tanong ko, Pastor, kasi maraming sa mga churches ngayon, Reformed Baptist na mga churches, I don't know if they believe that tithing is still a part or worship, pero marami sa mga practices ng mga Reformed Baptist churches is wala na yung tithing dun sa mismong order of service. Hindi ko kasi alam kung ang belief nila ay hindi na worship yung pagtatithe. Pero ang question ko is, meron bang danger dito sa ganitong klaseng paniniwala or practice na ginagawa ng marami sa mga alam kong mga Reformed Baptist churches sa kasalukuyan?
Well, the danger is if you leave it to the free decision of people, you are not taking into account remaining sin. Sin will attack us in the way we use money because covetousness is one of the strongest temptations that can deter us from the duty ng giving. Maging si Apostle Paul, yun ang kanyang sininggle out na naging conviction sa kanya in Romans 7, I would not have known sin unless, except for the law, because I would not have known covetousness unless the law has said, you shall not covet. So when he singled out something that he was struggling with when he was still unconverted, it's covetousness. Dun sa rich young ruler, sinabi niyang, I have obeyed all these commandments. Jesus gave him the commandments until commandment number 9. At nung sinabi nung rich young ruler, all this I have obeyed, ibinagsak sa kanya yung 10th commandment or the implications of the 10th commandment sa kanya was the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. So covetousness is a reality. So pag ipaubaya mo lang sa kanila, bahala kayo, at hindi mo ituro na may tungkulin kayo, bagamat hindi imo-monitor, may tungkulin kayo that the tithe belongs to the Lord. Next week, we will consider cheerful giving. In fact, my belief is that you are only beginning to give beyond the tithing. It's not the tithe itself that's the giving, it's the consecrating of what belongs to the Lord. Kaya madalas nga binibiro ko pag napag-usapan o na tanong yung tithing, I would say, I don't care about your 10%, give your 20%. Biro lang yun. Pero ang point ay, your giving should be beyond tithing. Ang tiningnan lang natin ngayon ay tithing remains a duty. Sino ba? Sir Mars.
Good morning, Pastor. May narinig ako na sabi niya, dapat nagtatay ka doon sa simbahan kung saan napipid ka, natuturuan ka, na-oversight ka. Ano po masasabi niyo, Pastor, kung halimbawa, isa kang membro na isang iglesia, pero ang tithe mo, dinadala mo doon sa ibang iglesia, kung saan nakikinig ka ng salita ng Panginoon, napipid ka, kumpara doon sa church na ina-attenan mo, na hindi ka naman napipid at hindi ka natuturuan. Maja-justify po ba yun, Pastor? Pero nagtatithe siya regularly?
In the priority of our giving, the first priority for a church member, because it's a covenant with the church, is the church. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm not taking the position that the tithe exclusively belongs to the church. Maaring gamitin mo yan sa ilang pagkakataon sa ibang bagay o ibang ministeryo na outside the church. But the regular way, ang regular na dapat nating binibigyan ay ang ating sariling iglesia sapagkat naroon ang mga gawain na ating sinusuportahan. So, And of course, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, it goes both ways. Dapat ang mga namumuno, mga nangangaral, nagtuturo sa iglesia na nagbibigay ng matapat ang mga miyembro ay ipakita naman nila sa isang kapaki-pakinabang na ministeryo ng salita ng Diyos. That's just Galatians 6:6. If you benefit spiritually, then you give materially to those who preach. Kuya Jonathan. Ang mic po.
Actually, sa pinanggalingan namin church, may sinasabi, yung tithing daw ay hindi lang money, kundi time, talents, and treasure. Ano po yung opinion niyo po?
Well, both first account, si Abraham, and then the only other account in Genesis is Jacob in Genesis 28, who said, if you prosper me, and he mentioned the way God will prosper him, he made a pledge, I will give you the tenth of all. And then in the Mosaic law, it's all about their land and in other words, their wealth. And then when it comes to the New Testament, we find the correspondence. So, maling sabihin na yung tithing ay para sa lahat. For example, we only have 7 days in a week. And that's the way God has designed us to live a 7-day week. And 1 day is rest. Now, that's 1/7. Hindi siya tithe. So, maling i-extend ang tithe sa lahat ng bagay because the tithe, as taught and presented in the scriptures, is all about our wealth or substance. Yes, Ate Julie.
Morning, Pastor. Thank you po for the lesson. In relation to the previous question, yung to reconcile lang po yung sinabi ni A.W. Pink na ang intindi ko po doon is parang maging masinop ka sa pagpapahalaga ng kaperahan. Like it's a business matter. Talagang pag-iisipan mo. Is it all right for a believer to still give his or her tithe to his church, dun sa kung saan siya nag-a-attend? But ididiretso niya dun sa where he or she feels is a ministry na talagang nagpa-function based dun sa mandate, or to be blunt, to a preacher who really gives time to prepare, not even maybe the pastor, yung anyone who stands in the pulpit, maybe a brother who talagang gives time to study, gives time to teach. Pwede po bang idiretso doon? Kasi yung parang part of the command to bring it to the storehouse, yung pagiging masinop na sinasabi ni A.W. Pink, does that stop dun lang sa just bring it to the storehouse and then bahala na? Or can you decide on where your money will go? Wala nang question doon, you've settled it na it's worship to the Lord and yung wala kang kulang na ibinibigay, even beyond. But deciding on where it goes within the church, I don't go to another church. Yun
Yes,
lang po. Thank you.
Thank you po. As I've said, I don't take the position that the tithe is exclusively to be given to the church as such. It can be given to a ministry, particular ministry doon na bukod ang iyong tithe para sa ministry na yun, or in some irregular circumstances, let's say, na pagpala ka ng masidhi sa isang nangaral at gusto mong magbalik ng pasasalamat sa Panginoon by giving your tithe to that particular preacher, I take the position that that is something that you can decide. Remember what Peter told Ananias and Sapphira, o Ananias, nung siya'y magbigay, ang sabi ni Peter sa kanya, when it was yours, it was for you to dispose of it as you wish. ang kasalanan ni Ananias ay nanloko siya, nagsinungaling, nagmisrepresent ng kanyang ibinigay sa mga apostol. Pero kinilala ni Peter na habang nasa kanya ay may karapatan siyang gamitin sa kung saan niya gagamitin. So I believe that for the tithes of Christians, regularly we should choose the church to be its recipient. But in some other matters, merong mga ministry na talagang malapit sa puso mo at gusto mong ibuko doon ng tithe o kaya ay as a response to a particular preacher or teacher, minister, ay you express your thankfulness by giving your tithe sa kanya. I believe that that is legitimate. Last two questions. Joy.
Thank you po. And I just remember one of the columns earlier was on budget planning. Tapos, as church members, at least for CRBC, we do have budgets. And then we know that majority, say for example, of the general fund, which the tithes are being utilized, is more on, let's say, our ministers and the ministries, ganun po, no? Just to, I mean, in our sinfulness, we can also be giving to man. I mean, example, I'm just ano lang po, we might be giving favor to men where we think it's just man to man na lang. So how can we balance lang po yung influence or yung manner where we as a church anyways discuss about budget and agree on the prioritization and then on the personal utilization or allocation of the tithe po na free naman to do.
Yes, merong part na you give to man and we call it benevolence. So it's not itself worship, but it is still a Christian duty to be benevolent to those who are in need. Proverbs chapter 3:27 says na give to whom it is due and when it is in the power of your hand. So hanggat nasa iyo kaya mo at may nangangailangan at bigyan mo, that is a good way of Christian duty about finances, which is manward as an act of benevolence. Itong pinag-uusapan natin na offering or tithes ay worship. That is why we give it to something that pertains to the work of God. Sa mandates, particularly when it comes to the word. Last question. Marami. Dito na lang.
Good morning po, Pastor. Ang tanong ko po, Pastor, pwede po ba natin ituring ang giving na tithing or vice versa, tithing or giving? Kung baga, pwede po ba natin siyang ituring na interchangeably na giving ang tithing or ang tithing ay giving?
Strictly speaking, if we follow what we find in the Old Testament, the verb used for tithing is always paid. They pay the tithe. Why? Because it already belongs to the Lord. Except that we don't monitor. Tayo, pag may binili tayo at hindi tayo nagbayad, i-iskandalo tayo. Pero marami ang hindi nagbabayad ng kanilang tithe sa Panginoon, and because it's not monitored, they get away with it. So I will argue, and especially next Lord's Day, God willing, na giving only begins after you have paid the tithe. So we should distinguish the two. So may isa pa raw doon. Sabi po ni Pastor.
So, from Noel din po. Ano po ba ang pinagkakaiba ng cheerful giver at tithes giver?
I call tithe as duty giving. Meaning, tungkulin mo na yon. Yung pananalaping yon ay hindi na sa iyo. Kaya ang sabi sa Malakay 3:8 ay ninanakaw mo sa Diyos kapag sa iyong tithe ay hindi mo ibinigay sa Panginoon. So, we will study cheerful giving next Lord's Day, which should be the more encouraging note on giving. Pero you only really start to give when you have already sanctified your tithes. So that is something that I hope is clear from the Word of God. Ang tandaan natin na prinsipyo, the more blessed, the more you give. Now my challenge is, where is the greater blessing? Old Testament or New Testament? Well, I am going to say without any second thought, the New Testament, the New Covenant, has given us more blessings, and therefore we express it with more thankful giving. So that is why I call this giving beyond tithing. Let's close in prayer. Dakila naming Diyos at mahabaging Ama, kinikilala namin ng lahat naming tinatangkilik sa aming pangmundong kabuhayan ay mula sa iyong maluwag na pagkakaloob. At kung tunay namin itong kinikilala, nawa ay maging handa kami na tumupad sa aming tungkulin ng pagpapasalamat at pangunahin na rito ang pagbibigay ng aming ikapu. Hindi namin ito ibinibigay bilang legal na diwa, kundi sa dahilan ng pagkilala na ang bahaging ito ay ibinukod na para sa iyo. Kung paano ang Sabbath ay ibinukod, bagamat lahat ng araw namin ay kabilang sa iyo, ang ikapu ay ibinukod rin, bagamat lahat ng aming pananalapi ay galing sa iyo. Naway maging handa kami at hamunin ng iglesyang ito na gamitin ang mga kaloob sa pangunahing pangangailangan na sa mandato ng salita ng Diyos, at naway maging tunay kaming mga mananamba sa paraan din ng pagbibigay. Panalangin namin ng lahat ng ito sa pangalan ng Panginoong Hesukristo. Amen.